family. This is Shannon Jackson, the People's Nurse, your resident host. Thank you for tuning in to our live session, part 2 of Boredom in the Bedroom. But today's topic, we're going to be talking about how to spice things up. And who best to talk about that? None other than Dr. Shannon Chavez, our resident sex therapist, who knows all things about spicing things up. Dr. Chavez, thank you for tuning in and joining me as my co-host today. I'm glad to have you here.
So excited to be here, and I love this topic, so I can't wait to dig in.
I love it too. I want to remind all our viewers and listening audience that we are doing a live chat. Make sure you send us your questions, although we do have a couple of tips that we're going to start off the show with. And we're going to dive right into it. But if any of you have a question as we go through these tips or a comment, make sure you put it in the chat and we are here to answer you. All right, Dr. Chavez. So as I said before, this topic came about because of the viewers. And I'm so excited that we're diving into this because we want people to be engaged and have healthy lives. And healthy lives is not just mental, physical and spiritual, but sexuality and sexual health is also very important. So we're talking about how to spice things up. And there's a couple of tips that we've already prepared, and I'm going to call it out to you, and you kind of expound on it and let the viewers know what that looks like. All right. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
All right. Let's dive into it. So the first one is making foreplay a priority. So what is that exactly? Making foreplay a priority.
Well, let's talk about what that is, but I want to define foreplay because there's a lot of different definitions out there. Some may say it's activity that happens before intercourse. Some may say it's any sort of behavior, activity that can be emotionally or physically beneficial for connection. So I'm going to give everyone the definition of prioritizing foreplay as any activity that gets you both in a nice rhythm for pleasure. So it doesn't have to be before intercourse. It could be going into any sexual or sensual situation. You prioritize a time to get warmed up, to get in your bodies, to relax together, to take your time to be explorative and creative. Foreplay is always something that's kind of rushed, right? Let's hurry through these handful of acts to get to something better. But the reality is most people experience their pleasure in foreplay because that's where they're experiencing the most embodied, present pleasure. So not only prioritizing it, but taking your time. And that is sex. So we think of it as the precursor to sex, but the foreplay is the heart and core of sex. So taking your time and figuring out in the prioritizing of that, what you want to experience during that time and changing that up as you go along.
Wow. So, and that could be something like an example of just, it's like a buildup. It's that excitement of what's to happen, playful touch or flirtatious acts or long
turning yourself on.
kisses. Oh yeah, turning yourself on, self-masturbation or long kisses or doing different things that rise you up to the occasion. All right.
Exactly.
So anybody got any comment on that? Do we got any people in the house? Is the family start tuning in yet? Because we're getting ready to ride through this.
I want to add one more thing to foreplay is that we don't actually experience spontaneous desire. I call that Hollywood's version of sex, that we just can flip a switch on and be ready for sex. So this is why foreplay is important. We are not spontaneous always in our desire. We're more responsive, which means we need to give ourselves a little bit of room to get that fire going, as we were talking about earlier. Getting that fire going is part of spicing things up. So just remember that, desire is not a switch. It takes time, which is why foreplay is important. It gets you in the right headspace and body space for pleasure.
And the other thing I think that helps is that when you learn your partner, what they like and what what they like to help build that moment of that intimacy where they want you, they desire you because you're building them up and that you're doing something that they desire. Everybody has a weakness or something that they enjoy in the area of intimacy. And when you can incorporate that in foreplay, I think it's very hot and heavy. It makes each other want each other more when you can pull that piece in. So whatever it is, it's different for each person, right? So
right. And I mean, foreplay has the word play in it, and everything
exactly.
you're describing is getting playful, right?
Yes.
Evoking each other, being maybe a bit flirtatious,
Yes.
seductive. This is
Yes.
the sort of creative, intimate dance that's a part of sex that
Mm-hmm.
is really different for everyone. I mean, if we think about what we do to turn ourselves on or a partner on, that's going to look different for everyone. So I'm giving
Correct.
everyone permission to do your thing if it turns
Exactly.
you on, because guess what? You're probably doing it right for you and your partner.
I want to ask any of the viewers, do you have anything that you do
Question.
that turns your partner on during foreplay, or something you want done to you that maybe gets you in the mood or gets you going? It's different for each person. Some people like a little of this, some people like a little of that, and some people like a whole lot of stuff. You know what I mean? So
Well,
I'm going to say
I'll
something there.
self-disclose actually
Okay.
something that works for me and my
All right.
husband. We activate the senses, and that means to think about all of our senses: sight, smell, touch, taste, sound. This is the way to get into your body. So our strongest sense in sex is our scent of smell. So believe it or not, we like to smell each other. We nuzzle in each other's neck and chest. We smell each other's hair. That can be a great way to start off your foreplay, is to, again, activate your senses. It's a primal way for us to experience intimacy.
Well, since you self-disclosing, as the host, I better self-disclose too.
Yes.
I want them to talk to me.
Yes.
Talk.
There you go. That auditory. Yes.
I want them to tell me how much they want it.
There you go. Exactly.
I do.
The power of that desire.
Tell me how much you want it. It just brings out a whole nother side of me. So my middle name is Renee, and Renee comes out. The alter ego of me comes out.
The Sasha Fierce.
Yes, Renee comes out when they talking to me. Talk to me, Daddy. Talk to me. Talk to me, Daddy.
Yes, I'm glad you brought up talk, because it's not just any old talk, right?
Oh,
We're talking about
sensual talk, dirty talk, sexy
different
talk,
tones of voice,
yes,
taking
hot
your
talk,
time with your words,
yes,
teasing a bit. So
I love it. I love it.
For those of you that are out there, this
I'm all in with the
conversation.
Warm up conversation.
Yes.
Let me know what you want, how you want it, as Tupac said. How do you want it?
How do you feel? Yes, Tupac knew what he was talking about.
Bernard, next time we got to put some of that mood music on.
Hey, that's a form of foreplay. Music.
Exactly.
Your body.
Exactly. All right. Any comments out there? Anybody got any comments out there? I can't see them on here right now. But anyway. All right. We're going to get into the next one. Change sexual positions.
Yes. Now, sexual positions, there are probably so many, we could not name them all and talk for hours and hours. So sexual positions, there's a lot to choose from. So even if you're thinking that's intimidating, right? Do I need to get a Kama Sutra and try a pretzel position or something that I'm not, that maybe is intimidating or scary? I would start slow. Think about your favorite position. And for many people, that may be missionary. There is nothing wrong with missionary. It's actually one of my favorite positions because you get to make eye contact. There's a lot of options for pleasure. So even changing a position that you already like and go to, for example, missionary, you can add a pillow under your butt, give you a little bit of an angle. You can add a variation by wrapping your legs or arms around each other. So changing positions is important because it brings variety. It also gives you some new potential for pleasure, which means that something that may not have felt good before can feel even better in a new position. So change it up. And if you're not familiar with that many positions, there are lots of books, websites, videos, things that we can watch to not only experiment, but to get ideas. You may say, all right, that position looks really interesting. I may not want to do that, but a component of that may work for a partner and I. So changing positions, you mentioned food earlier. It's kind of like the food we eat. We want variety. If we're in variety, we can get more excited about it. And it's going to change our way of experience pleasure. So definitely change it up. I think that's a great suggestion.
I love it too, because I think it, like you said, it almost makes it new again when you try it differently. You know what I mean? And you don't know what you like until you try something different. So, no, I didn't know I like it like that. So, and this is also very helpful with people that may have physical ailments and disabilities, where certain positions are uncomfortable for them, where doing alternative ways may be more comfortable, where there's mutual pleasure, not just for one party, but for both. So I'm all for changing the positions, mixing it up.
Yes, mix it up. And with positions, you can also try something like props or furniture, pillows, chairs, furniture around the house. So that can also be a way to support your body in different positions. So you don't have to think about, again, the acrobatic Kama Sutra positions, just changing it up, having even a piece of furniture to support your body, put a leg up on, whatever you need can be a nice variety for sex.
Bernard, do we have any comments from anyone before we move from this to another one? Any thoughts on that? Anybody have any comments?
Sonia says, Dr. Chavez, can you give tips on positions with those that might have not have as much length?
Oh, that's a good one. So, Dr. Chavez, can you give tips on positions for those that might not have much length? So, a person that's a little bit more shorter.
Yes. So,
I can see them now. Thank you.
In this type of position, I would try maybe the woman on top position. So that's a position that can be really helpful because you can control your depth and movement. There are many different ways that you can position your body. You can do a reverse or forward position. You can use your hips and legs. And so that's going to really help with movement and different types of stimulation. So you don't have to worry as much about, again, that height difference or size difference when you're in a position like that, because you can vary it to your need. And there's a lot you can do in that position. So you can also do that in either a sitting or seated or standing position. So there's a lot of different ways to even vary that alone. But size is something, size difference, height difference, all these different differences can come into play. And the most important thing with any position is make sure your body's comfortable. Yes. Make sure that it feels good. If you're focusing too much on the technicality of it, or a partner is, you're slipping around, you're not feeling comfortable, change positions. I would say move on. Don't focus too much on trying to master that position. Try something that works for both of you.
What about the chair? I mean, certain chairs can really give you a nice, intimate moment, Certain chairs can definitely balance you very well and really kind of have you experiment a lot.
Yes, a chair is one of the best forms of sex furniture because we have them around the house. Hopefully we have a chair or a sofa or something that you can use. And as you said, you can do a lot with a chair. You can use different
wonders.
You can be seated. You can grab on the chair for extra support. You can even get something like a rocking chair, which has different movements, or a recliner that you can have different positions in. So there's a lot you can do with the furniture around your house. And I think that's actually a great suggestion to do a little house tour with your partner and identify furniture, things you can use around the house for good sex. So
Christian everything, huh? Remember that song, Rock the Boat? Don't rock the boat, baby.
Anything could be a sex prop. You are right.
Okay, here's another question for you. Dr. Chavez, what are some tips for when you have extra thickness and you are afraid of getting on top because you don't want to harm your partner. So maybe full-figured male or female, because
Yes.
both can be a little bit, and the missionary can suck the life out sometimes, for either one. So what are some ones that you suggest? That's a great question from.
That is a great question. Again, it really comes down to the comfort level of each partner, because you can try certain positions that may work for some people, but they may not work for the others. So what I would actually suggest is for that couple to talk about the position first. So I know it may seem like we take the sexiness out of that by doing that, but you talk about it. Where are my legs going to go? How should I position myself? This is what might feel good for me. It sounds technical, but it helps you eliminate all that fussing around or readjusting during sex so that you can go in feeling prepared. So in that type of position, if you're worried about maybe too much weight on a partner or how you'll move your body, experiment a little bit. Maybe there's a way to sit up a little bit with your bodies maybe propped up against the headboard or pillows behind your back that allow you to move more easily. So you're not just lying right down on top of each other, which will really limit your movement. So we want to think about any sex position should really be about the best ability for me to move my body, readjust my body, and to switch into different positions if needed. So if we're in a position where it feels good, but we can't really move, I'd say it's probably not a good position for either partner.
Okay, excellent. Here's a question. Is it true that certain positions can help with pregnancy?
Yes, actually, there have been some sort of positions that have been known to be helpful if you're trying to get pregnant, and that basically means ways that sort of allow that cup where sperm is held right before it goes through the cervix into the uterus. There is a way, if you're in a position, again, elevated position with your hips elevated up, that angle and gravity has been known to help assist that sperm mobility.
They
But
can
again,
go deeper. They can go deeper, deeper,
it allows a straighter path for that swim. Exactly.
Deeper. They can go deeper. Okay, that makes
Yes.
sense. I hope that answers your question. So here's another one that says, are the yoni eggs safe to use? That's a good one.
Yes, very controversial, but I say yes. Again, like any object, sex toy, or anything else, you want to make sure you're using it correctly and you're cleaning it correctly.
That's
the
a big one.
controversy, yes, the controversy has been usually around the material that they're made out of. Most of them are made out of stones that are non-porous. So what's important to know about that is they're not absorbing any bacteria or fluids. They're easy to clean. But overall, a yoni egg is a pelvic exerciser. So what I like about them for sexual health, especially for women, is that they help you get in touch with your body. You get to actually feel not only sensations, but how your muscles work within your pelvic floor. And knowing how those muscles contract and relax is really the key to good orgasm health. So yoni eggs can be assistant in that. They can help reduce pain and tension. So again, there are many devices that do that, but the yoni egg has sort of its own approach. And I sort of like the history around it and how it's designed to help women get in touch with their bodies. So yes, they work. Make sure you're using it right. Make sure you have a good quality product.
I'm going to echo with what Dr. Chavez is saying, is the cleanliness. And I think with all devices or toys or any type of thing that you may be using for sexual pleasure, you want to make sure the instructions are, you know how to use them properly. But secondly, that you clean them well to prevent infections, vaginitis, bacteria that's getting into the area there. So other than that, keeping them clean and using them correctly, enjoy whatever you can that will bring you that satisfaction. Because I think a lot of times we're often wanting to satisfy our partners, but it's very equally important that we ourselves get satisfied in the process.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't be afraid. Also, just kind of segueing back a little bit on something you talked about, talking. I think it's important that people communicate what they like and what they don't like, because if this person is enjoying something and it is making you uncomfortable and you're really not enjoying it, then you're really going to walk away, and you're either going to have a mental note that that person is bad, when it's really not necessarily them. It's just that you haven't communicated on things that you enjoy and what brings you pleasure versus what brings you pain. So great questions there, ladies. Thank you so much.
Actually, I want to add on to that because feedback around sex is the one area we don't talk about.
Right.
Whether it's with ourselves or with partners, and think about anything we do. Imagine if we had no feedback, whether it's driving a car, the job we're doing, if we never knew if we were doing it right or had any feedback around how to improve. So sex needs feedback. So I just wanted to mention that because I think people think of feedback when something doesn't work or when it doesn't go right, or we want to fix it or make it better. But we should also give feedback when something's working. Hey, I really like that thing you did. Or can you do a little bit more of that and maybe add this part of my body or a little longer or harder, or whatever your suggestion is. But we need feedback. So permission to all to give lots of feedback around sex and pleasure.
I love that. And I think a lot of people are scared because they're scared somebody may say they didn't like it. Feedback is, I didn't enjoy it. So then everybody gets a stigma like, what if they say they didn't enjoy it? But it doesn't always have to be a negative thing, like you mentioned. So I love that. A quick story some years ago or something happened. We're talking about feedback. I'm laughing about it now. But I was in the middle of an act some years ago, and I had a diaphragm in it. It didn't come down. And he said, something is bumping up against it. It's hurting me.
Right.
It's hurting me. What is this thing? And I was like, oh my God. But had he not said and gave me that feedback, I wouldn't know.
How do you not address that in the moment?
Get the feedback. It's important. He just said it. He said it's hurting my D. But anyway, I was like, oh my God.
Exactly right. I mean, don't endure anything uncomfortable. And we've kind of learned to be really polite around sex, right? Yeah. Oh, I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. Exactly. I don't want to ruin the moment. I don't want to, we can get out of the moment and get back into the moment. So I think there's a lot of fear around ruining the moment. What ruins the moment is not giving feedback and not knowing what to do better or more, what's going to be more pleasurable for you in the next situation. So.
Yeah, you want to have a good time. You're there. You might as well enjoy it.
You might as well.
That's my motto. All right. Okay, here's another question here. What are good natural tips to tightening the vagina?
Well, first of all, you want to understand your anatomy because there's a lot going on in our pelvic area. We have our PC muscles or our pelvic floor muscles, which are a hammock of muscles that surround our vaginal canal. Over time, and this starts early in our 20s, as we age for males and females, our pelvic floor weakens. So if tightening is an issue, you want to ask yourself, what am I noticing that I want to improve or change? Is the lack of tightness creating a loss of sensation or difficulty with arousal? So if that's the case, you may use something like pelvic floor strengthening to get those muscles to be stronger, which will naturally create a bit of tightening within the canal. But positions can change your tightening as well. You can use positions where your legs are closer together. You can even clench or contract your pelvic muscles during sexual acts. That can also change the tightness. But also I would, ask yourself that question, where is this coming from? Because you also want to be aware of sort of social messages around, having a tight vagina and that being an ideal or norm. And, if that's the case, if it's coming from these external sources, really ask yourself, why is this important for me? And that's, something that I would say, because there's a lot of pressure for women to be, again, these sort of perfect ideal sexual beings, and our bodies can't change and they have to be young and they have to do this. So I want to challenge some of that because it definitely creates a lot of shame and unnecessary pressure and expectation around body image.
I agree. And I think that when you're in the area of intimacy and you certainly want to come into it with a healthy thought process and be relaxed. As I was saying, I was kind of joyfully mentioning it, but you're there already. You want to enjoy the moment. You want to make it pleasurable, your experience, and not just doing something out of duty or service or feeling you have to do it. For me, I never respond to that type of thing. It is, if I'm there, I want to have pleasure with it. I want to enjoy it. I want to make it mutually beneficial. So all of these things that we're bringing out today is to help spice it up, but also have you have a healthy outlook about your sexual health as well. But I will attest that certain positions will help you tighten your muscles. I can attest to that, especially females in the pelvic area. Kegel exercises are one that they teach you, but during sexual act, you can also be doing Kegel exercise. It can be quite lovely for both parties to enjoy.
Exactly. Adds a little bit of tightness and sensation. And that's a good point. You know, I recommend that women and men actually explore contracting those muscles.
Yes.
See how you can control them. And if you don't have a partner, use a vibrator, an internal vibrator, and you can squeeze around that and you can just learn how to control those muscles. It's good mind-body coordination as well, because you're able to see how arousal and contraction of those muscles really go hand in hand. So do some exploratory work first. Find your own muscles and play around a little bit, so then you can have a nice little trick in the bedroom. Why not?
Yeah. Segues into the next question. Adding sexual devices and toys. What are some that you recommend? I mean, everybody knows about the vibrator, but what else? What else besides the vibrator can kind of spice it up? That's kind of the more common one that everybody uses, right? Or
oh my gosh, what I keep on my desk is the magic wand. This is a big device. This is an
huge device.
Massager. I keep it on my desk because you can do it on your shoulders and neck. It's one of the greatest. But why I recommend a big massager for sex is that it's, yes, a vibrator, but it's also a sensual massager. You can use it on any part of the body, genitals, breasts, any part of the body. And massage helps relax the body. It helps us enhance arousal. So when we think about why we're bringing sex toys in the first place, is that we want to feel good. We want our arousal to be stronger. We not only want to spice things up, but we hopefully want to add some new dimensions of pleasure. So all over, external massagers are my number one pick. Now, if we're kind of going into variety and I'm thinking about couples and play, get a device that has a little bit of novelty and play to it. So there are couples devices. So there are two things, one for each of you to use, which means one is usually a vibrator that can either be wearable or it can be placed internally and there can still be penetrative activity. And there's also a remote that vibrates. So you have two vibrating devices and you can interchange how you're using them. And there's a remote. I don't know what it is about a remote. I don't want to stereotype men, but a remote can be kind of fun. A new dimension of, I can add intensity or I can slow it down. I can speed it up. I mean,
they'll be clicking. Go here. Lord have mercy. The men will be, okay, I'm going to control this here.
Stop switching the channel. Yes. But I like that. I like the novelty of that because it's different. And there's a lot of technology out there. So when you're bringing in sex toys, try to find something with variety that's not, again, just a vibrator, but it adds something different or new. There are vibrators that vibe to different music. I mean, that's kind of exciting. There's vibrators with cameras on them. There are, so many different things. There's also wearable gloves. This is a device that I like where it's kind of, imagine some 3 rings going over your fingers and they massage and they add vibration.
Wearable gloves.
So it looks like a glove, but it has these little rings that have little vibrating tips on them. So you can kind of add sensual touch into play. And it's just, again, it's different. It's not something you would normally use. So you can caress your partner. You can, use manual stimulation on your partner, but something like that, something that you wouldn't usually think of in terms of a sex toy that can add a lot of pleasure.
Wow, that's interesting. All right, we have a couple of questions here. One is we have 3 that we're going to put out. What to prepare for the first time for anal sex? And then we got Sonia and we got Trina. So, okay.
Yes, anal sex. Well, first and foremost, you want to understand the anatomy. So you want to remember that, the anus and rectum are non-lubricating. So you absolutely need lubricant. So even before thinking about it, knowing what type of lubricant to use for anal sex. There are types particularly for anal sex, which are actually better, not only lubricants, but they are silicone based. There can be silicone based, which really help preserve the tissue, because the tissue is very thin within the anal cavity. So you want to be very, very gentle and slow and really get to know how those muscles work. So sometimes what I recommend before someone has anal sex with a partner is to do some exploration with your body first with a lubricated hand or finger. That way you can actually feel those muscles, explore a bit of penetrating with a finger with lubricant to see how your body tolerates it. I think that's a helpful way to also train those muscles for anal sex, and also to get your breathing synced up with that penetration. So you're able to make sure you're not clenching down or tensing up, tightening those muscles, which will actually cause more pain and discomfort when you are with a partner. I would say also, if you are having anal sex with a partner, you can stimulate your clitoris with a vibrator, which can add extra sensation and relax those muscles even more, and add kind of a bonus of pleasure, which might be great for your pleasure as well. So, I would say, if anything, take it slow, get the right tools and materials, and explore your body first.
Excellent. Okay. What are good devices to use on men? And then we got Trina's question next.
Oh, did I tell you about the magic wand?
Mhm.
I bring this up again because all devices are really gender neutral. You can use any device that you use on your body, on your partner's body, even a clitoral sucker like the womanizer, which is a device that has a bit of a suction on the clitoris. You can even use that
I
on your
know you that
partner's.
one.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
You need a womanizer, Shannon. I'm
Yeah.
gonna get you one.
Give me one. I'm gonna take it too. Give me one. I'm gonna take it.
You're gonna love it. I'm telling you, it's one of the best.
I want it.
But even that device, which is sort of marketed as a clitoral stimulator, can be used on any part of your partner's body. You can even try it on the head of the penis. So I hear that a lot from males in my practice. Where's our toys? We want our devices. Any device can be used on any body part. They're not particularly, again, gender for one or the other. So my recommendation is to start with the toys you have and bring those into play with a partner, because your partner might actually like one of the vibrators that you have already. And then you can kind of talk about at that point, what might we want to try more of? Or did we like any of these? And then you can start expanding out with all the fun devices with all the bells and whistles, because there's a lot out there. I mean, I love
telling
sex
you.
toys. There's so many out there. I mean, we should do a show just on sex toys.
And we will. And the next time we have our conference, Dr. Chavis was there, and she's coming back again. She's going to have a booth.
I'm gonna
She's
bring
going
toys.
to bring all this variety of stuff. So you guys don't want to miss that. And more to come on that. We're looking at the venue now because everyone asked for it to be larger. Okay, Trina has a question. She said, or a comment. She said, I recently discovered on accident the benefits of a handheld shower base. Girlfriend, I've discovered that a
Yes.
long time ago. Lord have mercy. I'm with you on that one, Trina. High five on that. Talk to us about it.
Yes, you discovered the wonders of pressure and water pressure and also sensuality. I mean, something about the shower head is you're already, kind of in this sort of sensual space, and
It froze. Tell the audience.
Let's go.
Hi, so sorry. What happened? It just went blank. You were right in the middle of that.
I know. I actually and I couldn't get back on, so I switched off it to a different computer. So
Okay, all right. So you want to finish that thought that you were saying, and then we're going to go to the next one.
Yes, I was just basically saying, the shower head is one of the best discoveries, especially for people that maybe never have used a device and they want to explore, things that can create different sensations and stimulation. That's what I kind of love about something like that. It's something that we use every day. It's around the house, but you may discover that it could be one of the best sex toys. So it's a good kind of way to be creative about stuff you already have. And let's face it, anything can be a sex toy if we think about it.
Excellent. So you can get clean and get excited at the same time.
Exactly.
Okay, I love this one, role play.
Oh, yes.
I love the role play.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Talk to us about role play.
What is role play? I mean, I think of role play as kind of imagination for adults. If we think about it when we're kids growing up, imagination and creative play is a big part of not only play, but social connection. So I think a role play is the adult version of that. It's the way where we get to maybe get dressed up. It doesn't always have to be costumes. It doesn't always have to be elaborate, but it's a way for us to use our imaginations in terms of how to experience pleasure. So for some people, role play may be, imagining yourself as an entirely sexual being that's, a bit more provocative or assertive than you would be in normal day-to-day life. So role play is often a space where people try out different personas around sex. So maybe I'll be a little assertive or bratty or flirty or sensual and seductive. So it can also be a place where we just explore our own sexual personality and try out something new. So I love the idea of role play to help get that imagination going and to help people kind of think outside of the box when it comes to sex.
And also maybe being somebody different, doing something different look that you bring to the party, where it almost like you're intimately with somebody different than what you would normally have. You know what I mean? Like you said, bring another side of you out. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, how different do we feel maybe just wearing something we wouldn't usually wear, or doing our hair different, or putting on a little accent? Some people are really into accents when it comes to role play. I mean, I want to have this type of accent, and they really get into it. I love the imagination. I mean, you can go as far as you want with it. There's no right or wrong when it comes to role play. If anything, it's about just creating a space for you and a partner to do something different and have a little bit of fun. So don't make it too serious, too technical, no expectations, just have a lot of fun.
Yeah, don't make it pressured. I think the big takeaway I want for the audience to get from this is that don't have pressure around it. It kills the moment. It kills the intent. Enjoy whatever you're going to use. I use any of these tips, or you may have your own tips, but sex shouldn't feel pressured or stressed. It's supposed to be relaxing, enjoying, and you receive pleasure and being into each other. That makes it more enjoyable. Okay, here's another one. We're almost to the end of these. We got about two more, and any questions there? Bathing together. I thought that one was a nice one.
Yes. I love the idea of bathing together, showering together, because it's sensual. Again, water, sensuality. It helps us feel refreshed. It helps us relax. I mean, who's bathing and usually stressed out or overwhelmed? Hopefully nobody. I mean, that's a space where we really relax and let go. If you're doing it together, there's a lot of really sweet, intimate acts that can come out of that. Washing each other, kissing, caressing, looking into each other's eyes, a lot of nurturing play. So I think it's a great idea. And it's something we have to do anyways. Why not do it together? So I definitely am a supporter of bathing, showering, any sort of water play. Water play is great for mood and regulation and great for intimacy.
Excellent. So here's one of the final ones we have for today. Come to bed in style.
Yes. I like that. I mean, what is your meaning of that first? Sort of like
dressing up, maybe something sexy or something, not just, regular wraps and just torn clothes or something, but something that sets a, visual there for both men and women, you know what I mean? Exactly. Or whomever, just making sure that, looking good and feeling good and smelling good.
Exactly. And it shouldn't be only something we wait for special occasions. I mean, how many times do you hear that? I haven't been dressed up in ages. We don't go anywhere. So we always sort of assume that we shouldn't get ready unless we have a to-do where we're going out and seeing people. But that really limits us feeling good about our bodies. And people may say, well, if we're just going to get into bed, why should I get dressed? The reason is because it makes you feel good. It boosts your confidence. It actually may give you a surge of libido just by getting to check yourself out as you're feeling good. As I'm getting ready, I'm looking in the mirror, I'm doing my makeup, I'm doing my hair, I'm feeling good about myself. My music is on, I'm dancing. There's so many things that go into that ritual that lead to you feeling turned on before you get into sex with a partner. So that is why we do it. And also, style is so personal, so it shouldn't be lingerie unless you want it to be lingerie. It might be just putting on something that you feel sexy in. Maybe it is sweats for some people, but I think the point is that you get out of your day-to-day routine and do something different. Try on something you haven't worn in a while. Maybe wear a dress that you can kind of flow around in. Or I think, if anything, put a little bit of effort into it. You said torn clothes. I don't know how many times I hear couples say that. Oh, I just had a ratty shirt on, or old underwear. I wasn't assuming I was going to have sex, so who cares? But we need to put that effort into our appearance because it's the one way we get to express ourselves and be seen. Not only for ourselves, but, have a partner enjoy that. That's a big part of desire, is attraction and visual stimulation. So I definitely agree. Don't be afraid to go to bed in style.
Or maybe naked with a bow on.
There you go.
Out here.
Or most people say, well, if I'm just going to take it off, what's the point? So what I recommend is strut around in that outfit as long as you need to be seen, to be admired and desired. And then you can have your partner take it off, but slowly. Undressing is also something that people rush through. That should be a very slow and sensual act. So that's what I would recommend.
Excellent. Any other questions before we sign off? This has been wonderful. I hope the viewers got something out of it. Some tips how to spice things up in the bedroom, which is part 2 of Boredom in the Bedroom. Any other comments before we sign off? Want to thank Dr. Chavez again, Dr. Shannon Chavez. We share the same first name. She always brings the knowledge and the experience and the fun. I love
And
talking
the
about sex with her. And the toys. And don't forget to send me that, please. I'm emailing you my address. Once again, I thank you for tuning in. This was because viewers requested. Now you have it. So now you've had boredom in the bedroom. We've talked about that. And now we've given you some things how to spice it up. So if these weren't your bag, then do something else that you like to do. We just want you to have healthy sexual relationships and healthy attitudes around sexual health and get pleasure out of whatever turns you on. And as I often sign off, I thank you once again for tuning in to Living Your Life Without Limits, a show about motivation, inspiration, and elevation. I am Shannon Jackson, the People's Nurse, your resident host. And remember to love yourselves, family. Take care of yourself. Because guess what? You are absolutely worth it. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.